Hi everyone, this is Alan McKay. Welcome to episode 168. I'm speaking with Andrea Goh, a character TD at Pixar. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Alan McKay Podcast. Alan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Alan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Alan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on alanmckay.com.
Have you ever sent in your reel wondering why you didn't get the call back? Or what was the reason you didn't get the job? Here's the thing, most of us think you just put your latest work on your reel to some cool music and send it off, and then you get the job. A lot of us aren't aware that the majority of the reels sent to studios are skipped through and sometimes never even watched in the first place. The fact is, everything we were taught about landing a job as an artist is wrong. Over the past 20 years working for studios like Industrial Light and Magic, Ubisoft, Blur Studio, I built hundreds of teams, hired thousands of artists, and reviewed tens of thousands of reels. That's why I decided to write a book from the perspective of somebody that actually does the hiring. Learn the exact formula to captivate and qualify you as the obvious artist for the job, how to build a reel that ranks high on YouTube and attracts studios to you. The best part is with this book, you can get it right now absolutely free. Whether you're in design, games, TV, or film, go over to alanmckay.com/myreel. Okay, welcome to a brand new episode. So I'm really excited for this one with Andrea. I had a lot of fun chatting with her and about her career, both setting some initial really big, steep goals of going to work at Pixar, which for a lot of people might be a pipe dream to be in another country and say, I want to go work in this industry doing amazing animated feature films, setting like really high extreme goals and then following through with them, which for me is the definition of this podcast. So I really enjoyed this episode. It was really inspiring and a lot of fun just to chat about her and her career, as well as a lot of insights that she has to share. And for everyone who is going to be attending the IA Masterclass in Paris in March, we'll both be there. So definitely come hang out. If you want to get more information on that, you can go to the show notes. Just go to alanmckay.com/168 to access the show notes there. In addition to that, if you want to check out the Venom training, I think I mentioned a few times that it was out and it wasn't quite out. I apologize for that. I have been working like crazy on this, as well as having to travel, which has kind of disrupted things a little bit, but it's finally out. So go to alanmckay.com/venom. It's only available for a couple of weeks, so make the most of it while you can. This is going to be something really epic, so I hope you will enjoy it. That being said, I want to get into this episode with Andrea. Let's dive in. Again, Andrea, thanks for taking the time to chat. I think this is going to be really cool. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Andrea Goh, and I'm a layout artist at Pixar, and I'm also the Technical Supervisor for Sonder.
That's so cool. And by the way, I'm Australian, so I'm always going to butcher people's names and say Andrea because it's what we do. So Andrea. Cool. That's really awesome. And just curious, like, how did you get started in the beginning? Did you always want to be an artist growing up?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I love watching movies when I was a kid, and I also draw a lot. But in high school, we have to learn science and everything. And growing up in this Asian culture, I'm from Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's just an Asian culture anywhere. Our parents really just want us to have a stable job. And so I almost wanted to be a doctor.
Wow.
And as I graduated from high school, that's when I had to choose like art or science, and
help people or make people laugh. Okay.
Right? Yeah, and actually Pixar at that time sent 9 people to Malaysia, all the way to Malaysia, to give a seminar on every single department in the pipeline.
Wow.
for Toy Story 3. So there are people talking about set dressing, talking about layout, talking about anything, sets and everything. So that was when I was like, holy crap, how do I do this? I want to do this.
You're like sneaking to the suitcase to go back with them.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is definitely like, and I was only like 17 then. So like, that's definitely what I want to do. And so I signed up for art college in Malaysia called the One Academy, and just quickly became another art student. So yeah, that's how I realized if I don't know, people always ask like, did your parents object and stuff? I
Mm-hmm.
think mainly my mom is just worried. She knows our industry somehow. She knows the late night. She knows the passion that keeps driving us even though we have no sleep. And so she's just worried about my health. So she kind of make me promise like, I will let you be an artist if you promise me to take care of your health.
That's
And
cool.
I probably like broke that promise one or more times and stuff like that. Yeah, and my for my dad, it was mostly he thought art was, I don't know, being starving artists,
Mm.
selling art by the street, stuff like that. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But as soon as he realized I'm using a computer, that's when he's like, okay, I approve. So yeah, that's how I get started.
That's cool. And it's kind of interesting how people have that perspective of like, computer might mean like a legitimate job, whereas otherwise, yeah. But that's really cool that, you did it with your parents' support. And I think it's really awesome too that Pixar was able to do that. Because I think, again, with misconceptions, like a lot of people, when they think Pixar, they're going to think animation and then
Yeah.
suddenly go down that route instead of realizing like, there's all these different backgrounds and different disciplines that you can go into, and it isn't just animating. Let's say it could be doing R&D, it could be doing cloth, it could be doing so many
Mm-hmm.
different things. So
Yeah.
that's cool. And for you, like I guess from that moment of going into college, you were just had your heart set on going to Pixar.
Yes, that is the very moment. And I love Toy Story since I was like 6 years old. And my mom told me that when I came out of the theater, my face was pale. She was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I did not know that my toys could come to life." And till this day, I feel like I still want to believe that they will come to life when I'm not looking.
Hmm.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool. And I guess like going to school, like what was that like? Again, knowing that you had your heart set in one place, like did you ever really kind of have a game plan in the beginning going into it all, or was it just kind of like make portfolio, tell Lasseter I'm coming for him, and go from there?
I don't think, I guess starting so young, I didn't think I had a plan. But I definitely just want to learn as much as possible. And I am so glad that it's something I'm passionate in, like art, like drawing.
Yeah.
So taking all the foundation classes was like really fun. And funny enough, in college, I was looking, like I make sure to always look up to someone like online and stuff like that, because I mean, Malaysia is so far away. And I actually found it's art magazine
Mm-hmm.
masterclass. That's when like all of my favorite concept artists, they're all there. And yeah, that's how I really just like always just look at good art and like follow their story, how they work so hard. So that actually helped motivate me. And also,
Cool.
yeah, looking at some of the Pixar artists and just see how they achieve what they want to achieve. But at that time, I still didn't know what I wanted to do exactly, like which department, but we were just learning the fundamentals. Yeah.
That's cool. And what happened after you graduated?
I graduated in 2013 from the Malaysian art college, and I thought I was going to be a modeler then because I learned ZBrush, and I love it so much, like sculpting
Yeah.
monsters and stuff. And I thought at that point I was like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna go to Pixar. Maybe I will be going to places like Blur Studio because they were like pumping out so many cool trailers.
Yep.
So I was so sad. I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do ZBrush for like monsters and creatures and for Blur maybe. And it was funny because at the end of college we had to come up with a graduation short film. That's when we went really stylized animation. And then I got to try rigging, and that's when I realized, oh, I really like this. And then I graduated.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no, I got a taste of it, and then I graduated. So yeah, that's how I was like, okay, that's how it reminded me again. Maybe I don't know, because everyone was so deep into all the realistic and badass looking thing, and I was like, oh, I can do that too. And I maybe kind of forget why I even started.
Mm.
And that short film and rigging and stuff like brought me back like, wow, like I can do cool technical stuff and achieve really appealing stylized look. Like it doesn't have to be badass. Like
Mm,
it still can be amazing. So that's when I decided that okay, I need to study this more.
that's
And that's
cool.
when I came to San Francisco Academy of Art.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think it's important too. Like as you go further into your career, like, you get taken on so many different journeys, and you kind of forget why you did it in the beginning. And I think it's kind of important to kind of get that reminder once in a while about like what kind of sparked that in the beginning, and where your passions kind of were leading you before you got pulled in 1,000 different directions.
Yeah, yeah. Especially in our industry, there's so many things you could do, and yeah, so many things, and it's kind of easy to get pulled into what like looks cool
Hmm.
and not necessarily like with a good um, what is it, essence. Like the content needs to be good too, I feel like, and I realized that's what I really care about, like good storytelling. The story has good message and not just like, oh, this is just like a badass creature ripping people apart. And then, I mean, no, I really love those stuff still.
I still
Well,
it's funny that you're saying that because you're mentioning Blur Studio and Pixar, and like I've worked at Blur like on and off forever, and but yeah, it's just like Blur are great storytellers, but they definitely do amazing visuals and kind of focus on that and as like a very key part. Whereas like Pixar has definitely been like story or die.
yeah,
So
yeah, and it's just like preference. I'm not saying one is better than another, and I just realized like, wow, I might not last long if I just keep doing that. Like,
yeah,
and I really really care about like the story and making people feel something and think about it rather than I'm willing to give up the badass cool looks and stuff, but and put it in like badass, I don't know, behind screen or something.
yeah, right. That's cool. And I'm just curious too, because again, being Australian, like I've worked plenty of places all over the world, and I always find it interesting going into different cultures, and I mean more cultures by the sense of like art. Like you go into the American culture, like people have a very different vibe than let's say Australia or different places. For you, like going into study in Northern California compared to back in Malaysia, like what was it like in terms of the contrast? Like, did you find they're very different? Like, people have different attitudes, things like that.
um it's it's very surprising that it was not as different as I thought it would be, maybe because it's California.
Hmm.
And I when before I came to America, I was imagining a huge culture shock. I thought I was never gonna get to eat Asian food ever again. I have to eat burger and pizza every day, and I'll probably be the shortest person in that area or something like that. But then I don't know. I guess the San Francisco is so diverse, and actually there was yeah all kinds of people traveling to that place, and I still get to eat my Asian food. And like in terms of school, I think the biggest difference is in the one academy in Malaysia, the teachers are really persistent in lecturing the students, and like if you don't do this, if you don't do your work, you're never gonna get anywhere, stuff like that. They like really push us,
Mm,
and I felt like those were to me for me it works like when they lecture, when they kind of
kick
become
your
really
butt.
yeah kick up really stern about it, and like it actually like reminds me like, oh, I got comfortable, I didn't work hard enough.
Hmm.
But when I came here, it wasn't really like that. It was more like, if you want it, you gotta work hard, but I'm not gonna do anything if you don't. Like it's all on you kind of thing. And so I think both has its benefits. So I'm glad that I had both sides. Like, so I started with people lecturing me and pushing me. And then when I came here, no one's pushing me, but then I can still kind of remind myself through like what I had before. I was like, oh shit, like if I don't do this, I'm not
Hmm.
gonna get what I want and stuff. So yeah, so and then it kind of teaches me self-discipline here in America. And of course, being away from home, it teaches me a lot of self-discipline and self-care. So
That's
that
good.
is the biggest change. Yeah.
I think it's important too because along the way it's easy to get very comfortable, and having that responsibility, reminding yourself that it's on you if you want to keep pushing yourself. Like, you're the only one who's really going to do that. Like, you're lucky if you've got friends and colleagues around you that are willing or able to kind of keep pushing you forward. But
Yeah.
I think it's a good reminder that at the end of the day, it's on you. And if you're not doing it, then you're going to get lazy. You're going to get comfortable, and because I think we all go through that, like,
Yeah,
throughout our career.
definitely. Yeah, I was very fortunate to have those teachers back in Malaysia, and like some of the stuff they say will still stick to me. And when I'm here, when sometimes I really just get lazy or procrastinate, I like sometimes think of that. It's like, wow, okay. Like one of the teachers, I think it was like a animation game class back in Malaysia,
Hmm.
and the teacher stomped into the class really angry, and she was like, okay, listen up. And she said this that really stuck to me. She's like, you guys always talk about all the really cool video games you guys play. You guys spend 16 hours playing all day, getting to like a really awesome level. Well, I'm asking you, do you want to be the gamer that plays these good games, or do you want to be the one making these good games? And I
Love
was like,
that.
oh, I was like, it blew my mind. And she's like, if you want to play those games, go home and play those games. But if you want to make those games, you do your homework and you listen at class, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, that's so every time I'm like playing games, I think of that.
That's
But
cool. It's kind of like saying, do you want to be a level 80 gamer or do you want to be a level 80 artist?
right, yeah, and
Yeah.
make like games that, yeah, she also said like, do you want to play the game that everyone's playing, or you want to make a game that everyone's playing? That
Hmm.
was like, that's so motivating. It works for me. I guess some people are like, shut up. So
No, I think it's great, and I think that people need tough love occasionally. So that's cool. That's really cool. And what was it like? Like, once you finished up in, studying in Northern California, like, did you go right into Pixar, or where did you go from there?
I actually got a internship when I was still working on my final semester, the
Hmm.
second last semester. Yeah. So this is a very well, there's a backstory to this. It's kind of crazy. When I first came here I applied for the master's degree
Hmm.
because I already had one back in Malaysia, and they were like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. We just need to check all the credits and stuff, and they accepted me and move everything here, like move my life here. And after the first week, they were like, oh, we don't think that you can take master's degree because we don't recognize the Malaysian credits.
What? Hate that.
So they literally told me like, either you go back to your country or you take the bachelor degrees, which is like another 4 years.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, I had my friend who's also like traveling from Malaysia to study there at the same time. Like she was also in the same trouble as me. So we both worked on fighting back. Like we called our Malaysian college, and like we called the immigrant officer, well, supervisor of the school, stuff like that. And we fought so hard, and we're like, we at least let us take the bachelor degrees with our credits transferred. Usually they
Yeah.
don't. So yeah, so we had to like bring in like a bunch of our portfolios and like, see, we don't need to take this class. We already
Hmm.
took like figure drawing 1, 2. So yeah, so we fought so hard for that. And I remember that time I was so like, I felt defeated, but I still did it. I just like, what the hell? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, of all people, why do I have to take the bachelor degrees? I like won my master's degree. And
Yeah.
then I still believe things happen for a reason, even though it sucks then, because then 2 years later, that's when I applied for the Pixar undergrad program, and they specifically only take undergraduate students, which is the bachelor degree students, for their internship, and I got in.
Wow.
And so if I was in the master's, I wouldn't even be able to apply. So I don't know, maybe I'll take a different route, but I
You're right.
was I was really thankful to be in that uh, Pixar undergrad program. Is short for pups,
Hmm.
so puppies. Yeah, so that's 2015 when I got in, and basically that internship is the best internship ever. It's 10-week program. They let you try different departments every week. So you start from modeling, and then there's shading, there's set dressing, layout, lighting, and everything. And since I came to Academy of Art to study rigging, I got really technical in my skills. So it's like rigging
Mhm.
and coding and everything. So I was like, I'm gonna be a rigger at Pixar. And actually, when I went to this internship, that's when I got to try everything. And then there was layout week, where my mentor, Adam Habib, he was teaching us all about cinematography, the camera lenses, and I love photography. I take
Mm.
photos on the side for fun and sometimes for my friends. And and then I love movies. And then when he was like lecturing us about all the cinematography stuff, I was like so into it. And when we finally did the layout assignment, Adam actually came up to me. He's like, "You should consider coming to the layout department." And
That's cool.
that blew my mind again because I was like, wait, I wanted to be a rigger. Like, what? I changed from modeler to rigging, and now I'm changing to layout. And then and at that time, there weren't any classes at school. Like nobody at even now, there's just like cinematic classes, but
Mhm.
it's not really focused either. So nobody really know what layout does. And I
Yet it's one of the most critical parts of the filmmaking process.
oh, I'm so glad you see that. It is so important. And yeah, so I was so torn, but after that program, I still have one semester left before I graduate, and that's where I dedicated all my classes to studying film. It's like history of film, Asian film studies. Had a really great teacher at Academy of Art. Yeah, and then after I graduated, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to layout, and then I applied, and this is another funny story because
Mhm.
when I graduated, when I graduated from Academy of Art, there was no position like internship for layout, but then there was a rigging one, and I still do rigging then. So I emailed my mentor Adam. He's from layout, and I was like, "There's no layout internship. Can I apply for the rigging one?" And he's like, "I will end your life if you if you apply rigging." And then he's like, "Let me talk to the department head and stuff." And then somehow they work out a layout internship.
That's
So,
cool. That's
and
really
then I
cool.
applied. Yeah.
Um, just to kind of hold on that for a second, because I think it's kind of interesting that you have kind of jumped around a little bit, and
Mm.
I think that it's really interesting that a lot of people have their heart set on I'm going to be an animator, or I'm going to be effects, or I'm going to be a compositor, and a lot of people kind of go into one role, and then later they start to finally see the other areas, and they start to realize like, wow, I didn't know I could do this, or I didn't know I was naturally better at this one thing, and I always think it's really important that as artists we go in, learn the foundations first, be a generalist,
Mm-hmm.
or at least get exposed to all the other things. And I think that's really great that Pixar is able to expose everyone to different areas, because you might love one thing because that's what you know, but then you
Mm-hmm.
might do something else and naturally just pick it up and be like, wow, I'm kind of just better at this without needing to be. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And you wouldn't know that you'd be passionate in it until you actually try it.
exactly.
Just like anything, I guess. But I feel like I do meet people who are the kind who is like, I am set on this. I really just like this, and I hate everything else. And I feel like it's probably different personalities,
Hmm.
and I think that's totally fine too. Like, I know I have a very curious personality all the time, and there's always like pros and cons to any kind of personality, I guess. And for me, yes, I get curious about anything and everything. Like when there's Oculus Rift coming out, it's like, wow, maybe I should go into VR. And then there's like, oh, they're doing this cool tech now. Oh, maybe I should go into tech. Like, so that's like kind of crazy extreme, but yeah. But I do realize that some teachers or mentors might try to carve like a mentee or a student a certain way, like you can only like choose one thing, or like some they're like you gotta
Mm.
try everything. And I don't think it works. I don't think it's like a blueprint for everyone. It really depends on like what you can do and what you actually want to do. Yeah, and for some people, like I see a lot of animators, they are really good at animating. It's because all they do is animate. And I feel like if they split their time to other things, they might not be like the best animator as they can be right now. So, but I do agree. Maybe on the technical side, it's good to know more different departments,
Mhm.
especially just to know what's coming into your department and what's going out and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think it's a good way to think about it too. Is just kind of have, as you mentioned, that curiosity in the beginning. Because again, with anything, the more you expose yourself to other stuff, the better understanding you're going to have. But even if you're not doing it, just having an understanding of, let's say, being
Yeah.
an animator and understanding a little bit of rigging and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of modeling, that's going to make you better with what you're doing. Let's say if you're a modeler, understanding rigging animation, you're going to know to put more deformations in the shoulder or certain areas than others because you're going to need that control later on. So the more surrounding areas you have, the better you're able to communicate to the people around you. If you're effects, then having some lighting,
Mm-hmm.
compositing, maybe a bit of
Mm-hmm.
scripting, that's going to make you a stronger effects artist. You know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
definitely.
And what was it like going to Pixar after setting that goal years and years and years before? Even when you're just going through the pup program, like just walking in there for the first time after kind of having that goal set for so long.
It was very surreal. um, I just remember always telling this pup intern, she's now my best friend and roommate, Christina. We both still couldn't believe that we're there. It's definitely very surreal. And yeah, I feel very thankful that I get to even be there. Kind of like I know there's so many people who applied, and the ones who did not get in, it's not even because they're not good enough. It's just I don't know for what reason. They just have to. It's just like a limited space, and
Mm.
they just have to pick. And I felt like for pups, they probably picked me because I did some rigging and coding, as compared to there's a lot of like lighting and shading look deaf people. So they just I don't know. That's just maybe I shouldn't think that, but maybe I'm just thinking that maybe they just want to even out the 9 people. Not everyone's doing the same thing, kind of thing. So I really feel very grateful and surreal at the same time. And after school, when I came back for internship, it's getting like less and less surreal because maybe
Now
maybe
it's becoming a
because
job.
yeah, maybe because yeah, the tasks I'm given is getting more and more real. And I definitely, oh wow, the when I went back after school for the layout internship, I definitely felt what everyone feels, which is the imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
It's just very annoying, but it happens to everyone. And I definitely felt very not sad, like stressed out. Like it was all like self-inflicted
Yeah.
stress. It's not like because the people at Pixar are so nice, they're so kind, they're so humble. They're always like, let me know if you need anything. My door's always open. Like ask me any questions. But then it was like my own like mind
Hmm.
games that's like, do they even why am I here? Why did I like I even
They're gonna figure out my whole scam, any
yeah,
day now.
yeah, I didn't even go to the school for layout. Why did they even pick me? Like, what is this? And
Hmm.
like, what if they think my work sucks and they don't tell me? Like all this stuff, and that made me very miserable. And I remember one day I was, and my boyfriend at the time and husband now was like my biggest support, because I remember like crying to him and was like, why am I so miserable when I like actually at my dream job like place.
Right.
Like yeah, it was so crazy. Like your mind just like can't talk yourself out. But I realized it helped got me out as I try to be more grateful and thankful for what it is instead of just imagining the worst case that could happen. So that's something I read from a book called Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. She really helped. Yeah, what she said was like when you are faced with joy, that's we most of us will mentally break it down and be like, what if there's a catch? like here's your candy, but like what if this
Yeah.
is all gonna go away tomorrow? Or like yeah, and she said the way to solve that is just be thankful and be in the moment. So like when you get the candy, you're just like, thank you for the candy.
No, I
And
love that.
and that really helped got me out of there. And there are a lot of good coworkers that helped me a lot, and I was able to ask them for help. And now yeah, now it's my job. And this is my third time going back to Pixar. There was a visa issue in between where I had to be out of job for a while.
I hate visas so much.
I know.
People stress about tax. It's like you got nothing. That's nothing compared to
I know, yeah, you lose your job. Like there was a gap for my work document because it expired and the new card like did not arrive in time. So I technically cannot work. So and then Pixar just like, I'm so sorry, you have to pack up and leave. And I was like, holy
Oh man.
crap. But I appreciate that moment again. Like everything happens for a reason. I feel like that moment help give me like a perspective of like what is a career to me,
Hmm.
because now it's like taken away from me. I cannot have a career. So what it is actually. And then when I return again, there was definitely no surrealism anymore. I was like, let's get working. Yeah.
The magic went away. No, I think it's really cool that you mentioned that though, because I think that a lot of people they experience imposter syndrome, but they don't, they're not aware of it. So they have all these insecurities, but they're not leaning into it. They're not, thinking like, okay, like this is just me, experiencing something new and being scared about it. I mean, again, like subconsciously, we kind of have that a lot of fears about
Hmm.
what we experience. Like typically, like if you go back 10,000 years, our brain is wired to try and keep us alive, and therefore
Yeah.
change is different because change means that you could be experienced to a whole lot of dangerous things. And
Hmm.
these days, I'm going to Pixar, oh my god, will I get killed? It's not really the same thing.
Right.
So because of that, like we have to kind of deal with that we're not worthy sort of thing, and it
Hmm.
comes in so many shapes and forms. And I think that it's worthwhile acknowledging it because in a way it's going to keep you on your toes. Again, going back to being too comfortable,
Hmm.
and getting lazy and things like that, like having that kind of thing saying like, you're going to get fired any day now and everyone's being nice to you but secretly they're judging you, whatever it
Yeah.
might be. Those
Yeah.
things can work in your favor.
Definitely, yeah. And I think a way to find out if you're actually feeling that, I think is just constantly checking with yourself, like
Mm.
especially when you're feeling extreme emotions. It could be like in action too, like if you're finding yourself like wanting to party a lot more or like drinking a lot more or something, or like you don't want to you don't feel like talking to anyone. Basically it's like you find yourself miserable and you're just like, wait, what happened? Like I
Hmm.
feel like it really is worth it to stop and think like, why is this happen? Why am I so unhappy? And yeah, and really sometimes I really agree with the change. I remember now that like that was a huge change, not just like job. It is, I guess it's my first job. And it's like first time like not being a student anymore. I also just moved away from the city, and yeah, that was a lot to take in. And I guess starting right after school, there wasn't like a breathing moment.
Yeah,
You just have to get like jump into it and do it. And that's why we have to reflect on ourselves when we have the time.
that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, Daring Greatly, I'll definitely check out that book too because again, what you said, like being present, I think that most of us don't. We're too busy focusing on all like what's next, instead of just saying
Right.
like, okay, I've arrived, enjoy it. Like I've worked hard
Hmm.
for this.
Yeah, definitely. That book saved my life.
That's cool. I'm just curious about this too, like having that kind of big goal of I'm gonna work in California at Pixar and I'm gonna do cool freaking, I'm gonna go work on Toy Story, which is coming up, like that sort of thing. Like for you to accomplish all that, what was it like when you finally got there and beyond that? I'm curious about that just because for me, I've known that when I've really put a lot of focus on like a big goal, maybe even an impossible goal, and then
Hmm.
when you finally get it, like after that, like at least for me, I've definitely experienced depression where I'm just like, all
Hmm.
right, well now I just accomplished my dream goal, now what the hell do I do with my life, kind of thing. It's like, what was that like for you? Did you ever experience that?
Definitely. It's like what now? Like
Mm-hmm.
wow. I guess because the first time there's a lot of excitement and it's surreal, and once that settles, because it gets real, it's just like this is just like another job like
Yeah,
everyone has, and it's not like especially like magical or anything. Depends on the way you see it. But yeah, definitely felt that like, what now? Am I gonna keep doing this for the rest of my life? Like there's a lot of checking, like, or do I want to do more than this? Or like how can I, a lot of future things,
mm.
which in a way I think it's good at some point, but if we fantasize about it a lot, it's gonna like ruin what's going on right now, because you're not like doing your job. You're just thinking about what you're gonna do next when you
Yeah.
just got here, kind of
What's the
thing.
next shiny thing?
Yeah, definitely. But I do just check with myself like what is my next goal, and for me, I do wanna work towards being a director at some point. I'm not sure, director at Pixar or whatever, like just anything. I just like wanna direct my own film,
Mm.
and that's always, I think, in the back of my mind. Like even though I am just touching so many departments, like I felt like there's still so much more, and I really just that's when I know like okay, I do really just want to tell really good stories as well.
That's great.
And yeah, so I just keep that in the back of my mind, and I guess also having side projects like Sonder and other short films. Well, at the time I only working on Sonder. Yeah, that really helped keep me active, because like you said, like you can get comfortable in especially like a big studio like that. And a big studio, usually you are probably going to stay in the same department doing the same kind of things for a while, because as compared to like a smaller studio, you get to jump around and wear many hats. And for my personality, that's kind of against what what I like to do. Like I want to jump around and stuff. So yeah, so that's why I joined like Sonder and get to wear a lot of hats again. And I think just keeping myself busy outside of work and keeping in mind like setting a new goal for next, but also reminding myself that right now I need to focus on what I have right now to like just be a good layout artist at work.
That's cool. That's really cool. And talking about Sonder, like, do you want to talk a little bit about what that project is and how you got involved in it?
Sure. Sonder's a 14-minute short film. Yeah, animated short film. We use Maya and Unity software to do it. So it's the lighting and the rendering and the shading is on Unity, but all the production part is definitely in Maya, something that we are more comfortable with. Yeah, and the stories about love and loss and how you get over it, how you let go. So it's a very, I don't know how to say it. Like it's like about relationship. And
Yeah.
yeah, how I got into it was my instructor in Academy of Art. His name is Neth Nam. He teaches animation. He also worked at Disney and Pixar before. And when I was Academy of Art, me and my friend Isam, we met him, and he was a great teacher. And one day he was like, let's I want to work on something, like I want to do more than what I'm doing right now. And we're like, okay. And he's like, would you guys be interested in hearing what I have to do? And then we're like, yeah, sure. And so he pitched us like this short film it's about depression basically. And I felt like it was something very personal from his life. And I was like, yeah, if you need help, let's do it. And that was like really, really early on. We're just talking about the concept and stuff. And he thought about it, and how he did it was he's like, okay, let's try making something really like simpler and small team first, and then we see how we work together. So we joined like a VR game competition. Yeah,
Okay.
we basically have 4 weeks, 6 weeks actually. Yeah, 6 weeks to make a VR game from scratch.
Wow.
And that's when we also like test like if Unity is fine. And that was like a really small team. It was like less than 10 people. And it's called Lilypad. And I became like the only rigger and also art supervisor on there. And that was really fun. It was really just guerrilla style and really fast paced. And that was when we were still in school. So it's like, yeah, let's do it. Late nights, every night.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, sorry, I broke the promise again. And yeah, so from there we realized like, wow, we make such a good team. A lot of our animator friends were on it too. And that's when Neth is like, okay, let's make this short film. So yeah, I was one of the core members for Sonder, and we just started building the story first, bringing in artists, and started building a team. And yeah, and it Sonder took 3 years to finish. So we just finished it in May this year.
Wow.
Finally.
How's it feel?
Very, very rewarding. It was very crazy. I did not start out as a technical supervisor. We were just a bunch of friends wanting to make something. There was no position or anything. We just take up any task that we think we can do. And at a time, Ness also got support from Unity, the software company, and they were mostly helping with just we'll answer any questions you have, and because they're probably busy making their product and everything, we can't just can you give me this, and so yeah. And then Sarah Sampson was the producer. She was from Pixar as well, and both of them really just helped build the entire team from, I think it started from 10, 20 people to, in the end, the total count was 144.
Wow.
And this is because everyone is working on this as a side project, as a passion project outside of their day job.
Right.
So I felt like if this was full time, we would probably finish it way early. So yeah, everyone's dedicating their free time to do this, and this is so cool. And the biggest takeaway from this was when I was appointed technical supervisor. That's when, because the team's growing bigger and bigger, I was the one building each technical department. Okay, modeling's gonna do this, and then they're gonna pass it to rigging's gonna do this, and then we're gonna do. And I was researching shader, Unity stuff, bringing in people that can help us. And then soon I realized I have to do rigging and talk to people and tell them what to do. And I was oh my god, that's so much stuff. So that's when Nat is okay, you should be the technical supervisor, and then we'll split all this into their own department and have their own department leads. And that's when it get really structured. And that was my first time leading such a huge team. And again, it was scary. Imposter syndrome and everything. And I've always been the one, if I just put on hard work and solve the problem, I can finish the work. I've been just the worker, just work.
Right.
But then now that I'm in a leadership position, it's not how it is. I can't just work on my own, and everyone 5 people just standing there what are we gonna do? And I don't know.
I'm doing it for you. Just shut up and
yeah. So that's the biggest thing I learned, that I had to learn to delegate and think of the bigger picture. So I guess preparing myself by looking at all the problems and then think about, okay, maybe strategize this person can take that and then we can do this together. And also one more thing is being a leader doesn't mean that you will have all the answer.
That's important.
At first I thought that, yeah, and it was very against self-inflicted stress. I was oh no, they're gonna think I'm stupid because I don't know how to solve this. But then in the end I realized it is really solving it together, and it's really valuable to have teammates who are better at things that I am not. So I really appreciate that. I was always yeah, let's bring in that person because he knows more about C++ coding. I don't even code in that. I code in Python and stuff like that. And I felt I'm grateful that I wasn't intimidated by that. I feel there were some leaders that I know that would nope, we're not gonna take that because I have to be the best, something like that. And I learned a lot, and there's so many things I learned from Sonder, and I'm really grateful that Neth and Sarah really supported and trusted as I learned and grew in this project, because they could have easily just be what are you doing? Stop that. But they really created a culture where we can explore and try new things for sure. People in Sonder mostly were doing stuff for the first time, or something different from their day job and stuff.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's really cool, and I think that those sorts of projects are ones that you get so much growth from because you're right. Like you're exposed to so many different things, opposed to let's say being in a department like animating snowflakes over and over and over for a year or two. So having all those fires to put out, that's where you get a lot of growth. And what you mentioned before about kind of leadership, I think that there are so many different personalities there, and you're right. Like some
Hmm.
people, even if they don't have the answers, they're too afraid to not. So therefore, it's like we're doing it this way. I'm gonna lead you into a corner just because I don't have the answer.
Right. Hmm.
And I think it's so important, like to be able to put up your hand, even as let's say the quote unquote leader in any sort of situation, and just say like, I don't know, do you have any suggestions? It doesn't mean that you're worse or better or anything. It just means
Hmm.
that you're able to get input and still function. So yeah, I think it's really important
Yeah,
rather than being
definitely.
stubborn.
Yeah, I was really grateful for like my team. One of the biggest team that I was leading for Sonder was the assembly team.
Hmm.
Basically, we have to, because this pipeline is so new from Maya to Unity, make for a short film, that there basically aren't many tools out there for this, and this is the pipeline I came up with. So
Cool.
there's definitely a lot of flaws, and yeah, so we basically had to like make a lot of tools or do it manually. And I learned from making the trailer, I was the only person doing it all, that it should be a team.
Wow.
So, yeah, and as when we got a team, I was really grateful that my tools people, they're just not afraid to like suggest something. Like I tell them like this is a problem and I think we should do it this way. What do you think? And they're like, I I feel like I could do it this way too, but why not we try this way? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I didn't even think about that. And they were just like really into, but they were also being respectful. I guess they knew from the day job, maybe some of their leaders might not like it, but I was really appreciative of that uh, that culture that we have. We can just discuss, and it's all about solving the problems, not about who's
Yeah.
better and stuff. And that's yeah. Oh no, I lost something, a point that I wanted to make, but it's okay. Yeah.
Hopefully it comes back.
It's
Cool.
okay.
I know you're in the back of your mind's gonna be stuck there. Like half of your attention's gonna be focused on like what was that thing.
Nah, it's gonna
Um,
come back. I'm not gonna think about it.
that's cool. That's really cool. And I guess like, what were your thoughts when working on something in real time, like using the Unity engine? Again, a new territory to kind of conquer. And like for you, like, what are your thoughts on that experience as well as like down the line, like storytelling through either VR or through real time engines?
Um, yeah, so we chose to use Unity because Neth and I, we were really interested in the VR industry as it's like booming lately,
Yeah,
but we also didn't want to like throw all our, what is that saying?
ducks in. No,
The
F-
eggs in a basket.
yeah, eggs in a
Is it
basket. Yeah,
eggs? I
yeah.
was like, why are you throwing eggs? It's gonna break. But yeah, we don't want to throw it all in that basket, so we divided them to like the Maya basket and the Unity basket, so that if anything fails, we still like done most of it in our comfort zone. But we also want to try something new, so that's why we did Unity, but not make it VR, like a
Hmm.
VR film. So and wait, what was the question? How does it feel to do
Well,
it?
yeah, I mean, I was just kind of curious, really, just what your experience was with it, but also,
I
yeah, just like what your thoughts are for the future of that sort of
I
technology
see.
for
I
storytelling.
Unity really, I feel like it's very powerful in a way that it's very user friendly, and it's also pretty stripped down. So the more robust the software is, I find the less flexible it is for people to
Hmm.
make tools for it because all the features are already there and you can't really nudge anything. But when it's like a really simple software that you can just like write a bunch of tools that you want to put it in. So Unity was definitely very good for that. And another thing is saving a lot of time in rendering. We are like a passion project. We don't have like a budget for render farm.
Yeah.
So and when we rendered Sonder, it was amazing. It was so fast. that I actually made a chart. Like if we were to render this in the render farm, it's
Oh
gonna
wow.
take like this many hours. I think it was like 8 to 12 hours per frame.
Wow.
And then for Sonder Unity, you just click play, and then it takes at least like a second for a frame. So like 8 hours versus 1 second, and that really helped. Like I remember when we released the trailer for CTN in 2017, last year.
Mhm.
No, 2016. Yeah. We were still able to render it the night before. We're like, oh no, there's something wrong, and then we can still render. I feel like if it's a render farm, it's just like we can't do anything anymore. It's tomorrow. Like we can't do it anymore. So that really helps. I really like it.
That's cool.
And I think through this, there were some other. There's another team. They made. Are you familiar with Adam, the Unity film? It was like this robot like coming out of his chamber, and then he realized there's a lot of other robots like escaping too.
How do you spell Adam? Because you're gonna hear me typing really quick in a second, but I'm curious because it does ring a bell. Is it just ADAM?
Yeah, it's ADAM, and if you type like ADAM made with Unity, and then you will see that really hyper realistic.
Oh right, all right. So in Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah. So so it's like an in-house Unity team that made that, and we actually got to talk to them while we're making Sonder to just like share some knowledge.
Who are you
But
speaking with?
it was the director and the producer. We got to meet them. They're really cool people.
Cool, because my buddies run that company. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Oh yeah, they're in Europe or something. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that was really cool. But then they're definitely heading into like a different goal, which is, as you can see, like very realistic, physical based lighting, shading. So the tools they make are like way different than ours, but it was just so cool to see that if they can do that, like the future for that, it really is already there. And going to like GDC every year, I just keep seeing more and more great art like made in like VR and stuff. And I feel like right now maybe it's still something that people don't want to risk. And because I understand, because I also own the Oculus and I can't really play a game for like more than an hour. I would just like get a headache. And that's motion sickness. And I feel like that's from the engineering point of view, and we just gotta wait it out and let the engineers improve it on and on. I hope there's research for how to counter motion sickness and stuff like that. But as for the storytelling point of view, I feel like it's very immersive, and it's definitely like a different medium. Not saying it's gonna replace live action or even animation.
Oh, it's a whole other platform
yeah,
altogether.
yeah, definitely. And for now, I feel like it's really amazing for those immersive exhibitions, stuff like that. Like I recently just went to the Star Wars one.
Oh
In,
yeah.
yeah, it was in Anaheim. That was amazing. I was a stormtrooper and I had to shoot stormtroopers, and I felt like genuinely scared for my life. And like I was really holding like a physical gun. That was just so immersive and so cool. But I can see like there's like a time limit to it. Like if you are in there for too long, it might get weird and maybe you cannot tell. But I feel like as for entertainment, like we don't stay in movies for like 6 hours either. So we can definitely watch a movie in it and I don't know, get something really different. Again, I'm always curious to see, and I feel like I always had a fantasy of, because I love movies, but imagine if you can be in a movie with them, and like imagine Lord of the Rings, you can like walk around Gandalf. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
And with your friends too, like in the theater, like everyone's just like, wow, look at that. And then the movie can still be happening. But then a lot of people will say like, oh, but then that takes away, people can do stupid stuff, and then they didn't really get to watch the movie and they don't get it. They were just having fun. And I was like, people can do that already anyways in the theater. They can literally just be on their phone the whole time if they don't watch the movie. So I was like, it really just depends on the person.
Plus, you get to be a kid again. I mean, it's funny because I always watch a movie. I just want to enjoy the cinematic experience, I guess. But I think I was having this conversation yesterday with someone who was saying, do you ever kind of like picture yourself in the movie? And I'm like, no. But looping back to what you're saying, that's exactly it. Like you actually get to be in the experience. And I think as kids, like that's what we want. It's like we reenact our favorite movie and we're pretending to be in there. And as adults, like this is a chance to go back to that, So I
Yeah,
think that's so cool.
definitely. And I understand too, because I do camera every day. Like, like the shot composition is such a sensitive and beautiful thing to make. And VR basically kind of takes that away because it's just what the viewer is looking
Yeah,
at.
you can look
And
anywhere, any angle. No
yeah,
cheats.
yeah, yeah. But I believe that it is just gonna be another medium. Like if you wanna enjoy amazing composition, go watch a 2D film. If
Yeah.
you want to experience how is it like running with Iron Man or something, then go see a VR film. I don't think it's I feel like the people who are against or maybe not in favor, they're just afraid of change again, which is fine. And I remember when animation was coming out, people were also afraid. They're like, oh, is this gonna, and also VFX, they're like, oh, is this gonna like replace live action movie? I was like, no, look at us. We have all the choices of live action movies.
Yeah.
We get to watch animation where we want to. So having like a VR option is amazing too. So, and they all have their pros and cons. So
Absolutely.
I just want all the options. I'm greedy.
That's just it. Like, it's just another form of storytelling, and I think that's so cool because you're right. Like, people are always resistant to change, and therefore, Toy Story comes out, you get excited. You're like, this is what I want to do for the, not for the rest of my life, but this is my thing. Like, you got inspired. But some people might be like, oh, I prefer Disney and the old school style, and and it's just different people and different interpretations. But I think it's always great to get excited and embrace new things and at least experience them before you kind of shoot them down.
Yeah.
And and with VR too. I mean, the first time I experienced it, right now VR isn't amazing, but with the exception of like the Void and what ILMX Lab is doing, but in general, it's not amazing. But for me, it's like the first iPhone. As soon as you got it, it's just like, well, you need this before you can get to the next thing, and it just made me excited about where are we going to be 5 years from now. So
definitely. And I feel like that's one thing that I'm really excited about after working on Sonder is I'm seeing, this is very good for those people who are like, I prefer Disney traditional style. I'm seeing 2D coming back.
yeah,
And it's amazing. Like it's there's so many like Cartoon Network is doing such a great job, and Netflix is doing such a great job with all the 2D animation. And for Sonder, I realized like all the core members, including me, we were really, really persistent in making this like a 2D style, 3D animation.
it looks great.
And thank you. And that is very hard to do. But I believe that, I don't know, I really love that style, and I'm seeing more and more of that coming up, especially in games, because games mostly have to be in 3D for like the consoles and stuff, but then they still have the aesthetics of 2D, and I'm just really excited for that. And I am actually pretty excited to try a VR 2D 3D film. So that's my next goal actually. So
that's so cool. That's really awesome. And I guess like one or two more questions, but just to kind of cover the obvious one would be working on your first feature at Pixar. What was it, and what was that like, and getting to see your name on the big screen?
Okay. My first feature film at Pixar is Cars 3. And I know some people will be like, oh no, it's Cars. And I remember my mentor, Adam, he was like, Cars is a great movie to start with. I started with Cars when I first started too. And I was like, oh, cool. So that kind of like, okay, this is going to be great. And I actually had so much fun. I feel like because it is a franchise, so there's already like a certain way like the characters have to be and stuff like that. Nothing originals are bad, it's just different. That everyone already knows how it's gonna be. There's no pride in making something original or like trying to own like ownership pride
Mm.
kind of thing. So the team that I was working with, they're all just so amazing and fun. They're really just solving a problem to like make an amazing movie because we already know who the characters are. We already know the backstory because there's like 2 movies before, and now we can just focus on how to make this film as like look the best and tells the
Yeah.
best story as possible. That's all. It wasn't trying to figure out a lot of things from scratch. So I really enjoyed that. And starting with Cars, it's like I feel like it's like a really good ease in for me because I didn't tell you this before. I've tried so many things in the whole pipeline, and one thing I try to avoid all my life is animation because I cannot animate to save my life. And then now in layout, we kind of have to do some blocking, and I'm always questioning like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I keying this frame and thinking about timing, which I'm really bad at. So luckily, Cars is basically just a face with wheels, so I don't have to think about limbs and
Right.
their root and hip and stuff. So I get to learn how to do my work as a layout artist uh, in a bigger stroke
Mhm.
than actually thinking about how do I pose this character, what the silhouette is and stuff. So I get to learn more about the camera animation, camera shots, and posing the character was like quick because it's a car, and the technical part of like how do you get the wheels moving and the speed of the car, and it was really fun. And I was really uh, fortunate that the director of photography, Jeremy Lasky, he really just threw like a sequence at me. He's like, all right, you're gonna build this, and I felt like that was very trusting of him for to give a fresh person
Yeah.
so much responsibility, and but that helped me learn a lot. Of course, it comes with imposter syndrome, but I pushed through it and I learned so much, and I get to say like I built that sequence like when it's on screen, and yeah, like seeing the credits on screen felt I don't know felt I just the whole time I just felt really thankful and like happy to like, oh, like I know all these people's name who are next to me. They're people. They're people I work with. I've seen them like laugh. I've seen them solve this problem. And then watching the movie was like really cool too. Like, oh, I remember this shot. Like I stayed up to do that. And like, oh, I remember this shot this person helped me with. So it comes with a lot of like memories.
Yeah.
And I was definitely very excited. And I told like so many of my friends and family to go see it. And they were being also very supportive. They're like, I usually don't watch Cars, but I will watch it for you. But yeah, and I for Cars 3, it was really it was like a different movie than I thought it would be, and I'm in a good way, and I'm very grateful for that because it was about like more about feminism and standing up to bullies
Mhm.
and like the character Cruz, and that was just very very empowering. That made me like more excited to like tell people because I'm very passionate about that topic too. Like we need more like female artists in this industry and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this movie just shows that like it's about giving opportunity and mentoring people and stuff like that. So yeah,
That's really cool.
I hope I answered that.
No, you did. I think it's really awesome. And you're right. Like, when it comes to diversity, I find it kind of interesting because I find, especially like China, Japan at least, I can't say Malaysia, I haven't been to Malaysia, but I was really surprised that at least my finding was there was a lot more women in, like, let's say visual effects or at least the 3D industry compared to the US. I find there's a bit, but it's still definitely more kind of compositing or
Mhm,
producing, more in those areas. So,
mhm.
yeah, it always kind of surprised me, like, because you're right. Like, I think that these days it's starting to catch up a little bit, but you go back 10, 20 years, it was just, the one or two women in the studio compared to now where it's starting to get a little bit more balanced.
Yeah, I mean, even in Asia, even though there's women working in this industry, but that doesn't mean that there's no what is it, bias
Yeah.
against them and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I'm very passionate about changing.
Hmm.
I know it takes a while. It's like a huge ship to maneuver. But I'm glad that in United States it's kind of they're kind of like aware of it and people are fighting against it. So yeah, I remember even back in college when I was still like doing rigging, like guys will just come to me and tell me like, wow, like I never knew like a woman can do rigging. Like it's just so technical. I never seen anyone do that. I was just like, what? Like
Yeah.
like I get it that they're, but then I get it as like a backhand compliment. Like it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, but it's also like, why are you so surprised? And yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off. Like, I think
it's fine.
it is a really interesting subject, just because I think that there's there's the equality issue, but then there's also just a lot of guys who are kind of idiots, and therefore like I think that there's a huge issue with the fact that when guys get together, it's a big boys club, and if there's a girl in the room, they say stupid stuff. Like my wife, she's a designer, works in the vehicle wrap industry, so usually she'll work at like big auto body kind of places that are all dudes, and they've never seen
Whoa.
a woman ever be in there. And it's just the kind of stupid stuff that comes up, that either
Yeah.
they want to talk to a girl, don't know how to talk to a girl, therefore say something stupid, or they are stupid and say stupid stuff. So there's a lot of stuff like that. But Neil Blevins, who used to work at Pixar up
Oh
until
yeah,
recently,
yeah.
his wife Kat Evans, we did a podcast episode specifically on women in the visual effects industry, just because like for me, I've been wanting to do a roundtable for a while, just with a lot of women talking about this subject, just because I think
Oh my God, yes.
yeah, whenever I've mentioned, I've had so many people like reach out like, please, but I think that it's just one that, both for the women's sake, but also just for a lot of men as well, it's like, even if some people aren't aware, that there is, like, depending on where you go, like I always think that Pixar is probably one of the better places, just because in my mind I always think Pixar happy, everyone's jumping around having fun, but there's definitely environments that can be very counterintuitive, and so it really comes down to the environment you're in, and because that's usually certain studios attract certain types of personalities, and if you get a lot of guys who are just playing video games and Metallica t-shirts, they've been living in their mum's basement, and then they go into an environment where they're actually got to be professional and be courteous to other people, instead of all their interaction being typing online. It's a whole other world, and you got to be a bit more thoughtful of the people around you, and unfortunately it's not always that case.
Definitely. I think that, yeah, I agree. I feel like the problem is so big, like it's in a big picture, it's not like just workplaces. That
Yeah.
it's like in a society, in a community, in everyday life. That's why I feel like no studio, no industry is
Safe
it's
from it.
like perfect, yeah, or safe from it. Yeah, definitely. So some might be like a little more aware than others, but definitely not safe from it yet, which we're trying to like make it like, starting with bigger companies as example, like, hey, we can actually do this, and maybe smaller companies, startup, they're like, we're not going to resort to that. We cannot tolerate that. So something, I feel like it's happening, the change is happening. It just sucks that it's something bigger than just workplaces, like in society, in everyday life, in when you walking in the streets, or even if you're in a basement typing online. Like, it's definitely just like the mindset of how you see a woman. Like, do you see that person as a human being equal as yourself as a man or not? That is the simplest question. That's all.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
to dumb it down, like you're absolutely right. Like that's like the black and white version of it. And unfortunately, some people, like as you said, like I didn't know women could do technical stuff. Like, come on, dude. Like my friend Maggie O, she was actually speaking in Paris last year, but she's the product manager for Star Wars, which you mentioned earlier, and like
Right.
she went to MIT. She's worked at Pixar, ILM. Like she's one of the smartest people I know. And she loves alcohol, so I love her because of that.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I saw her. I saw her talk
Oh, cool.
online. Yeah.
I feel bad I didn't. So, but like Maggie and I go way back, but that's just it. Like, I look at people like her, and she, she's way smarter than I could ever hope to even pretend to sound like.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Like there's some very stupid contradictions when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it is really frustrating that we have to work triple, like double, triple hard,
Hmm.
and right now, since we're all like fighting for women and stuff, I feel like there's like even like an extra pressure of, if you are the only woman in like this meeting room filled with men, you kind of, again, self-inflicted pressure of like,
Hmm.
this means that I represent all women. I cannot do things that will prove them right about
Yep.
what they say about women. If they say like, oh yeah, women can take like stress, or like women don't know what they're talking about when it comes to technical stuff, like myths like that.
Hmm.
If somehow, if you slip, if you're like, oh sorry, I don't know what you're talking about when you speak about that kind of code, then it immediately like this is
Yeah.
like
Right.
the man will be like, see, I knew it because you're a woman. I was like, oh my god, like
Wow.
why can't you just like see it as like, oh okay, is this you did not study that, not because you're a woman. It's just like,
Yeah.
wow, it's just, yeah, so it's frustrating.
It's a big subject, that's for sure. But no, like yeah, I don't know. At some point, I do still want to do the roundtable, just because I think it'd be one that would be fun to do, but at the same time, one that I think everyone needs as well. So yeah,
We
I'll
should
definitely keep you in the loop.
definitely do it with alcohol.
Hell yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, and I'll make sure they're like manly drinks like whiskey or something. No. Maggie's drink of choice is whiskey. So,
Nice.
but that's so cool. And I guess one or two more questions would be just more to do with the technical stuff that you're just talking about. I was just kind of curious, like, what your opinion is of artists learning to code or at least script in some sense. Like, do you think that it can be a big advantage for all creatives, like any artist, to embrace that rather than a lot of us, I think, kind of run away from it, like, oh, I don't need to code or script, like, I'm an artist, instead of realizing, like, wow, like, this is something that levels up my ability and allows me to do
Hmm.
more.
I think it really depends on what you want, eventually what kind of artist you want to be. Definitely if you're in a competitive like VFX industry or animation that basically uses computer all the time, I feel like having some sense of like technical skills can help.
Mm.
I think because if you're relying on something technical, like which is the computer,
Yeah, and
and
automate your stuff or build tools around it.
yeah, and but I understand again that people are different. If everyone's gonna have technical skills, then they might like lose time in sharpening their art skills. And
Hmm.
but I really do believe like keeping an open mind. And again, this goes back to like what kind of artist you want to be. Like you can definitely be a fine artist and be selling fine art for the rest of your life in galleries and not having to know how to code a single line. And I think if you're happy with that, that's totally fine, I feel like. But if you feel um, you are constantly relying on technology, but then you don't put in the time to understand it, that might backfire most of the
Hmm.
time. But I understand there's like definitely like time limitations of like, should I put more time in sharpening my skills in painting, or should I learn a new software? Stuff like that.
That's where ignoring sleep comes in and doing it all.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like being aware and knowing and be open to learn is more important than actually being good at it. So,
Mm.
because you don't have to be as good as the programmer sitting next to you because that's his job, and because a programmer will never be able to paint as good as you or something like that. But for a programmer to know like what a painting is important. Like he's not gonna look at like a paintbrush and be like, what is this? I don't understand what this item is.
Hmm.
So for in reverse, for artists to like look at code, at least if they're not intimidated by it, they're like, okay, maybe I have to spend longer time to try to read it. That's fine. Instead of like, I have no idea what this thing is that pops up on my computer. That's I think that's important. Like, and
That's cool.
something that I think that probably is just life skills that
Yeah.
you want to, if you're constantly working with this thing, even this person, I think it's fair and important to try to understand it. You don't have to be good at it, just understand it at least.
That's great. And finally, what are you talking about in Paris?
Oh my gosh. I have not prepared. Um, basically, I actually am trying to watch all the past videos to see, and most of the time I see it's like a class, right? Like with the demos and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are more kind of keynotes. So, rather than being like, let me walk you through a shot, it's more kind of talking about it. But I mean, they're all different. But yeah, it's usually everyone's in the audience getting to just watch what you talk about. And yeah, I mean, it's always fun. Like Mark Simonetti's done always a lot of speed painting. Goro Fujita was showing a lot of
Hmm.
like his one. I loved his just because he split it up. The first half was about his kind of journey into speed painting, and then how he kind of transitioned that over to VR, and now he uses Quill and paints in VR every day.
Yeah, he is so inspiring. Yeah,
I love Goro.
he Goro is amazing. He's the one who inspired me to go buy Oculus and try Quill. So
Oh, that's so cool.
and now I want to make a film out of Quill. So that's my goal.
I'm just like calling it
Uh,
Kill.
sorry, yeah, Quill. But yeah, I think definitely I do want to spread like my story about my journey, because I feel like the more stories you hear about how people like from anywhere can do what they want,
Yeah.
it's important. And probably gonna talk a lot about Sonder, because it's
Hmm.
like a new pipeline with Unity, and how I don't know. I'm still thinking if I want to go more theory and like soft skills, or more like technical and art skills. So
Right.
I'm still thinking about that. Yeah, and I don't know. It really depends. And I asked the organizer Patrice. He said
Hmm.
that you can literally do anything you want, which gives me like, oh no, infinite
I
possibility.
know, right?
Yeah, so I'm still taking my time to think about it for sure, because it's gonna be in March next year. Um, I might do like a cinematography talk, which is more like on technical skills of my day job. But I'll definitely present more about Sonder, like how we made it, like a making of
Mm,
Sonder, basically, because I don't think we've done that so far, like a very in-depth making of Sonder.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, so, and definitely telling my journey.
Yeah, no, you have to. I'll make sure of it. No, because I think it's such a great story. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and no, I think it sounds like you've got several talks in mind. You just gotta either do them all or do one. But yeah, I mean, as you said, like talking about soft skills and hard skills is so important too, because I do think I'm kind of going on a bit of a rant at the moment about this, but I
It's
really
fine.
feel like hard skills are something that we put so much emphasis on, and it's I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of us aren't really focused on, let's say, goals. Like you having that
Hmm.
goal of like, I want to go work at Pixar. I want to do this. Like, even the willingness to explore different things. Like having goals and working towards them, rather than thinking, well, I'll just let my skills speak for themselves,
Hmm.
and not really putting any work into really going after what you're wanting. Yeah, I think it's just such an overlooked thing. So yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing your talk.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I feel like it is a balance of both. And the reason why I'm like hesitating on the soft skills is just because I am not like, I don't know, a psychologist, or I did not do research on human emotions and behavior. But I do think it's very, very crucial to achieving whatever career we want in this industry, because it takes so much people skills
Yeah.
and technical skills, like art skills, to get there. And I just don't want the audience feel like, oh, I paid for this event, and all you're talking about like how to how to be nice, and how to be kind to yourself, how to take care of yourself. And I just don't want them to think that. So, but I might maybe have like slip it in
Hmm.
like once in a while. I don't know. We'll see. Like you probably feel like I'm really passionate about that by just talking to me here.
No, it's cool. Like, yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of ideas. So I'm interested to see how it all works out. And that's cool. And where would we go to find out more about you, and also to find out more about Sonda?
Sure. I have a website called andreagoh.com.
Hmm.
That's where I put my resume and I don't know, like my portfolio, the ones that I can put on online will be there. I don't mind. Definitely hit me out on Facebook or Instagram. I'm always there. I love talking to people. And for Sonder, the website is sondershortfilm.com.
Cool.
And Sonder is running in like a film festival circuit right now, and we're crossing our fingers. We're qualifying short film for the Oscars next year, so we're crossing our fingers that we get nominated. So
That's awesome.
I hope people can go see it, and then maybe they can decide like, oh, we want it to be in the Oscars. I don't know if you're an Academy voter. So hopefully that's our dream. But if we don't, it will be the film will probably be out like next year once we finish the circuit. Yeah.
Cool. That's so great, and best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Again, like, thanks so much for taking time to chat. This has been so fun.
This is so fun. Yeah, I felt like we talk a lot.
Okay, I want to thank Andrea for taking the time to chat. I had a blast with this. Let me know what you think, and if you can take a moment to share this episode with others, I would be forever grateful. Here's the easiest thing to do. Just take a screenshot of your phone and then post it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever you want and tag me in it. And that way I can see you posted it. That would be awesome. So let's try that out. That being said, I'm going to be back next week with an interview with Mike Morris, who's one of the animators who's worked on The Simpsons and a lot of other really iconic shows. So it's going to be a lot of fun chatting about that stuff and diving into a lot of other really cool things. Finally, if you want to get the Venom training, go to almckay.com/venom. And again, thanks to Andrea for taking the time to chat. I'll be back next week. Until then, rock on.